No, and there's a lot of people who will try to speak into like what makes a good family car. And, now I'm to the point where like those lists almost irritate me because I'm like, who are you? Who are you to say what a good family car is? And I wish there was these people would put a little bit more weight into what their words mean, because you're asking families to make $50,000 decisions because you said this was the best family car based on what? I think the biggest surprise has been how much women actually do care about cars. And, I was told, especially in the beginning stages, like women don't care about cars that much. Like you're looking too into this, like no one actually cares. Like if they have a lot of kids, they'll just drive a minivan or a Tahoe. Like they don't care. And that obviously couldn't be further from the truth because I have 500,000 people who would say otherwise. All I see on the internet are these videos of people taking Jeeps off-roading. How many of you are actually taking your Jeeps off-roading? Like none of you. I'm using my cup holder. I'm using my cup holder every single day. And like, why is that not important? A mom spends more time. I guarantee a mom spends more time in her car than the average person, than the average car person. Hi, I'm Kelly and I'm the car mom. And this is Cars and Culture with Jason Stein.
Well, she's probably one of the most famous moms on the road today, even though it never really was planned to be that way. 2 kids later, 500,000 Instagram followers later, a whole host of people asking her wherever she goes, well, what car would you buy, Kelly? Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you on. I want to walk through your story, but I want to start off with a very simple 3-letter question. Why? When we think about your automotive career, we know that your family is deep into the automotive industry. Third generation, based in St. Louis. Your grandfather and his brother started it in 1957. I believe it was a used car business, and then your dad and his brother, your uncle, really grew it into a multi-franchise organization. You even took on the sales role at one point, and we'll talk about that. But I want to talk about why. Why are you the car mom?
I am my biggest passions in life are retail auto and cars, and then being a mom. And I worked in auto as soon as I graduated. In 2016, I started selling cars. And when I was pregnant, I started like looking at the car business and being a mom. And I just didn't at the time see a world where they worked. And I remember feeling so sad. I was like, I have to choose. Like I love cars and I obviously am going to be a mom. And I just can't believe like these two can't coexist. And it's just so funny to look back at those conversations I had with myself and with my husband and realize the answer was right in front of me the whole time. I just had to focus on the moms and it would all fall into place. But really it's my passion for retail auto, my passion for being a mom. And I've always loved helping people and empowering women. That's always been really important to me. And now I get to do all three of them at one time. And it's just incredible.
And as you said, it didn't really exist. I mean, there wasn't new, right? I mean, you can stroll through various websites that focus on car reviews, fast cars, small cars, minivans, trucks. But from that perspective, it wasn't there.
No, and there's a lot of people who will try to speak into like what makes a good family car. And, now I'm to the point where like those lists almost irritate me because I'm like, who are you? Who are you to say what a good family car is? And I wish there was these people would put a little bit more weight into what their words mean, because you're asking families to make $50,000 decisions because you said this was the best family car based on what? So when I started seeing like there wasn't a person doing it from a mother's perspective. There's other people saying they are doing family cars, but I wanted to take the mother's perspective approach or the woman's approach and focus on the things that other people just didn't point out in cars or highlight in cars. And I was truly shocked to see it hadn't been done before. But I think what makes me so unique is I have a lot of good resources. I have 6 car lots that I'm allowed to have the keys to whichever ones I want because my family owns them. So my family owns the place, which I understand is an enormous privilege. So I like to think that hopefully I'm using it to help as many people as possible. But I'm a mom in auto who has access to a ton of cars, and it just kind of all worked out that way.
And amazing. Now you sit in front of Katie Couric. You've got this enormous following that I talked about. What would you have done if you hadn't had kids and hadn't come up with the idea with your husband?
I was very good at car sales. And I think I saw kind of what my path was going to be. I thought I'd sell cars for a while, maybe get into F&I, and then maybe be a GM or a dealer principal one day. As soon as I got into auto, I really did fall in love with it. And I didn't think I'd ever leave. Um, but I also realized what I like about auto is selling cars, because when I had my second, before the car mom really blew up, or when I was pregnant with my second, I was doing some like odd end things at the dealership part time. Like I was working in the BDC, I was doing some direct mail pieces, but like that's not what I like to do. I like to sell cars. So that's where the car moms really kind of like fulfilled that itch of, now I get to like sell, thousands of cars every single month to people, which is just fun. I mean, I don't get paid like
Are
I
you
sell thousands of cars to people, but
does it even surprise you to sit here and look at the following that's been developed? I mean, clearly there was a need.
I think when I came up with the idea for the car mom, me and my husband kind of came up with it together. I knew it was a really good idea. I thought I would be like the car salesman to moms in St. Louis. Like I really thought I was just going to sell cars by appointment, and I knew it was going to have some legs, and I thought people would like it. I think the biggest surprise has been how much women actually do care about cars. And I was told, especially in the beginning stages, like women don't care about cars that much. Like you're looking too into this, like no one actually cares. Like if they have a lot of kids, they'll just drive a minivan or a Tahoe. Like they don't care. And that obviously couldn't be further from the truth, because I have 500,000 people who would say otherwise, who really do care about the cars that they drive and want to talk about them in their own fun and unique way. So that's been surprising, but
Mhm.
encouraging.
Yeah, it's kind of changed your life, hasn't
Oh yeah, totally. It's changed everything about my life.
it?
Yeah.
An internet sensation now. And you went into equestrian science and then
Mm.
returned to the family business. So, I mean, there was obviously a passion in equestrian science as well. How did we arrive there?
Yeah, my parents they've always been so supportive, and I always was into horses. I rode horses my whole life. And I do want to preface, I did double major. I do have a degree in communications too. So like I wasn't
Yeah.
totally like throwing my life out the window and just majoring in horses. But my parents really always did um instill in us to pursue a passion, and they just always wanted us to find something we're passionate about and go for it. So they let their daughter go to a small equestrian school in the middle of nowhere, and I rode horses all through college, which was really fun. I can say I haven't ridden a horse in 4 years, which is crazy. But you could say I'm working with like a different kind of horsepower now. And I like this one better. I like this one better.
You had never bought a car. You didn't even know that there was sales tax on a car, from what I understand.
It's so embarrassing. It was one of my first car deals. And in Missouri, you don't have to include the sales tax in the loan. So I sold a car, and the customer came back and was like, I don't have the money for the sales tax. And I'm like, you have to pay sales tax? That's going to be like thousands of dollars. And I mean, there's just, I was so ignorant to the process. I had never bought a car. I'd never seen my parents buy a car. And, I think I could have used that as a way to like hinder myself, but instead I had the very unique opportunity to truly start from the ground up. And there's no stupid questions as far as I'm concerned with car buying, because you couldn't have been more ignorant to the process than I was when I started selling cars.
What was that first day like when you were selling cars? I mean, here you are in the family business, and you're selling very sophisticated automobiles. I mean, you're in a BMW store.
Yeah, that felt like a weird. I still don't know why my dad did that, because it's not like I could sell to my friends. Like I'm selling I mean, my first customer was an elderly couple, and it was like their 15th car purchase, and it was my first. So it was like, what was I doing there? But I really loved it. I had such a supportive sales team and management team. I was the only female on the staff, and I was 22 when I started. And I think I can really relate to my audience for why they don't like car buying, or why they have, their preconceived notions about it. And it's because it was the same selling cars, but on the other side of the aisle. And it wasn't my managers who were mean to me, but it was the customers. And I think being 22, trying to sell 5 Series to men 2 to 3 times my age was difficult. And I dealt with a lot of, I need a salesperson. Like, oh, are you just the receptionist? And like, I had horrible comments on things like, you're never going to be successful dressed like this. No one's going to buy a car from you. And it was I mean, it was it was very challenging. And I kind of quickly realized that there's just some people that I'm never going to make happy and some people I just shouldn't sell a car to. So I think even back then I kind of realized not that I want to, you know, profile customers from the showroom floor, but I was also like, if they accuse me of being the receptionist, I'm gonna be like, you know what? Let me grab Kyle. Let me grab him for like I'm not gonna do it, and I'm gonna focus on the people who I'm gonna connect with and be able to help because I really was so passionate about it. So there was like, I mean, there was some hard days, but I just kind of got my footing and figured out what I was going to be really good at, who I was going to be good at selling cars to. And yeah, I don't even know how to have a stick shift. Like I am not going to connect with every BMW enthusiast. That's doesn't mean I'm a bad salesperson. It's like I'll give them to somebody else and I'll focus on the people who I'll have a connection with.
Must have given you a whole new appreciation for the complexity of the car business to some extent, right?
Yeah, I remember thinking, because like when you're just in it every day and you're seeing all these deals, like I was living at home at the time, and I would get home and I would just like tell my parents everything and all the customers and how I was so sad or so happy. And I remember like my dad never talked about work outside. Like he never came home and talked about work. So that's why, again, I didn't know much about it. And I'm like, Dad, how are you not talking about this all the time? Like there's just so much going on in your life. My head's going 100 miles per hour. And my dad was just always very good at coming home and leaving it at the dealership, which you definitely have to do some days.
Hmm. Yeah, I read that you just wanted basically to give moms a first look at a
Yeah.
new vehicle. And more importantly, interestingly, compared to where you came from, what if I could save them 4 or 5 hours at the dealership? I mean, this is not just a mom thing. This is not just a female thing, Kelly. This is like everybody wants this experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I realized early on that I was going to take this very seriously. And I also wanted to understand that this is such a big purchase that I really wanted to just give families, I wanted to help families make their short list, but I didn't want anyone to make a decision just based on my reviews or my content because that's a lot of pressure. But yes, to your point, I'm thinking, I know what it takes to get the keys to a Toyota Highlander. Like it takes making an appointment, going there, talking to a salesperson, giving them your license. In reality, like you needed 5 minutes to see that your stroller wasn't going to fit in the trunk. So what if I could just shorten everything up and just, help people take their list from 7 to 2. And now they only have to test drive 2 cars. And I remember I was pregnant and I had a 14-month-old at the time. I didn't even want to go to the grocery store. I can't imagine having to go to a dealership all day.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. So you get going and then walk me through the first few weeks and months of doing this and when you knew you'd really hit on something.
Yeah, so
The
like I
audience
said,
responded.
what's that?
The audience responded.
Oh, no, the audience did respond. I remember, if you remember, I thought I was just going to sell cars to St. Louis moms. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take like the SunTruk inventory and I'm going to do videos about these different cars that we have for sale. So I'd grab a Ford Explorer, I'd grab a Kia Sedona, and I would do videos on them. And, I got my first 1,000 followers pretty quickly because people were I was posting about it on my personal, it just kind of grew pretty organically. And I remember then I went to go check my insights to see like where my followers were. And St. Louis wasn't even in my top 5 cities. And I was like, oh, So this might be like a little bit bigger than St. Louis. And I was pregnant and I was looking through the cost of what it would cost because I was working at the dealership still part-time. But, 2 kids in daycare, it just like wasn't really penciling. So I remember telling myself, I'm going to give myself till my due date to see if I can like actually make the car mama thing. Because if not, I'm probably going to stop working. Like I'm not going to go back to the dealership working. I'll be a stay-at-home mom. I was like, but if I can have 10,000 followers by October, and I started this in June, I was like, I will probably have a chance to like take this thing full time. And the day my daughter was born, I had 14,000 followers. So I had just made it. And that was in October. And then by March, I hit 100,000. And that's when we really started to see the potential and see where this thing was going to go.
Wow. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the show a little. Man, maybe you can talk about the responsibility that you feel for getting the story right. How much responsibility is there?
I think, other influencers, they are telling you to buy a new lip gloss or a top or maybe a rug and like really splurge. But I realized that what I was influencing was life-changing purchases. And that felt kind of scary and kind of like a lot of pressure. And it's still scary. I mean, if I tell everyone I like a car and the next day that car comes out with an intense recall, like I don't like to see that. And I hold that, I hold that pressure with me. So I wanted to do everything I could to deliver the best types of content. So one of the things I did as soon as I thought this was really going to take off was I got my child passenger certification. So now I'm a nationally certified CPST, which is something that a lot of other car reviewers don't even bother doing. Because I mean, it's a pretty intense like certification process. Like, you have to do X amount of car seat installations every single year. You have to get recertified every 2 years. But that was really important to me to be able to speak about these cars. So I did that. And I've just really, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like I wasn't that big of a car person before any of this started. I liked selling cars and, I learned about what I had to learn about. But now now I just obsess over reading about every single family car, how everything works. And I probably install, I would say over 500 car seats every single year in different types of vehicles. Like, I'm installing probably at least 2 car seats almost every single day. So I feel like now, 4 years in, I have the experience to share, how I think these cars operate for families. But I'm really now just starting to get the confidence to like even make more bold statements, like here are the top cars that I like. Because before I was always too scared to do that, but now I'm finally like, okay, no one's done this more. I don't think anyone's done this more than me. I'm ready to share what I know.
Yeah, that's great. Wow. Have you become a car person now?
Yeah, no, now I am a car person, which is fun.
1,000%. Yeah. What is it you feel about your approach, Kelly, that fuels the popularity?
Um, I think I do think it's looking at cars in a different perspective. And we also make things very fun and authentic to me. And I just take things seriously. Like I take things seriously that I feel like other people kind of make as a joke. Like I think the cup holders in a vehicle are very important.
I
And
was going
everyone,
to ask you about that.
I
Yeah.
think that's important. I think where you put your purse is important. And some people want to like, poke fun at like, oh, look, mom, place for your giant purse. They're like, look, all the Starbucks you can fit. And they're like kind of saying it as satire, but I'm like, okay, well, all I see on the internet are these videos of people taking Jeeps off-roading. How many of you are actually taking your Jeeps off-roading? Like none of you. I'm using my cup holder. I'm using my cup holder every single day. And like, why is that not important? A mom spends more time. I guarantee a mom spends more time in her car than the average car person. Do you know how many different activities I'm driving to? How many different pickups I'm doing? I'm in my car all the time. And that's important. So like, no, it is important how many cup holders I have. No, I would like to know where my purse is going to go. So I've just like taken it very seriously, taken things that I think haven't always been highlighted seriously. And then of course we also have, I'm also just kind of doing my content in my own way. And this is something my sister reminds me a lot of. Like when you're kind of like I don't even call myself a disruptor, but when you don't have someone else you're following, like someone else's formula you're following, you can kind of do whatever you want. So we do a lot of car content. I do a lot of other content. Like I do a lot of mom related content. And that I just think helps really build a community and helps people really trust me because maybe, they made one of my recipes and they're like, okay, that was great. And it kind of like feeds into the community, which sounds silly to hear about a car reviewer having a good broccoli recipe, but that's just kind of all part of the brand.
You just talked about chicken broccoli casserole.
I'm making it tonight. I'm making it
Right.
tonight.
I saw that. You went to Costco and you bought the broccoli. You've branched out into other areas too, right?
Yeah.
But I like what you just said. You're building a community. It's not just where the cup holders are.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes it fun for me. And I like sharing. I mean, it's the car mom, so it's cars and moms. That's what we're doing, and we're kind of just combining the two any way that we can.
Is anybody out there doing what you do now?
Yes.
It's a copycat society.
Yes, there is, but I am taking the approach of one, I think we need more women in auto, not less. So I welcome, and I think more moms should write and review and care about their cars. But on the flip side, I also think if you're the only, you're not the best. So I'd like to be the best. So I welcome competition. But I will just say, I don't care who you get your information from. I really don't. But I do take some problems with people. I think, especially with the car, I'm very protective over the car seat information because like everyone likes to say, look, there's space for 3 car seats. Is there? Did you install it? And also what car seats? What ages of kids? What combinations? Are the headrests removed? Like there's just, it's so much more technical to that. And everyone would love to give blanket statements over this car can fit 3 car seats. And that is an impossible thing to do because you don't know the ages of their kids. You don't know the car seats they have. You just can't make lists like that. And I wish you could because I would have done it by now. But I'm not going to put a blanket statement that a car can fit 3 car seats unless I know your combination. Because also, I don't want you to go make a $50,000 purchase without knowing that information.
What's the most common question besides the supermarket where you're stopped and someone says, "What do you drive?" or "What should I buy?" We'll get to that later. But what's the most common question related to either car seats or functionality?
Um, I get a lot of, I think a lot of people trying to make their current cars work, which I actually think is really important. I think that a lot of first-time moms ask me like, "Hey, I'm ready for my mom car. What car should I buy?" And I'm like, "You should keep driving your Toyota Corolla. You're going to have 1 kid. You're going to be fine. Like, let's not upgrade yet. That can fit a car seat. Keep your no car payment. Like, talk to me when you're pregnant with number 3. Then we'll upgrade." So that's, yeah, first-time moms coming to me a lot, and then mainly it's just though, what car? What car? What car?
I can't imagine how many times you've been asked that question.
And it's funny. So, but like I love it because I love selling cars. So I do, even though like everyone on my team tells me to stop doing them because it's a big, it takes up a lot of my time. I love doing consultations. I do like 3 to 4 consultations every single Wednesday. And I sit down with the family and we go over their needs and I recommend 1 to 2 cars for them to go look at.
Really? I
And
didn't know
I
that.
love doing it.
Wow. This is from around the country.
I'm from around the country.
Huh.
Yeah. So but I like it because one, I like selling cars. I like connecting with my audience. And I also like, I want to stay in the game. Like I want to know that like what lease prices are we seeing? What are we talking about? What did you think of that car? Because that's helpful. And I've always wanted my platform to feel very collaborative because I'm truly, at the end of the day, I'm just one mom. And like at some point with cars, it does become your personal preference. Like even though I try to keep the majority of my reviews very like data backed and data based, at the end of the day, like I'm gonna like one interior over the other. So I love hearing what other moms think so I can always like help say, hey, this isn't for me, but I know a ton of people who love this car.
Yeah. Wonderful. Are the specific needs of women and moms or men and dads being met by automakers?
Oh, that's an excellent question. If I I could get like really granular and give you examples and like your jaw would drop and you'd be like, why would they do that? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think that yes and no. I mean, there's definitely some good options out there. And I mean, there's more family cars now than ever. Like there's more 3-row SUVs than there's ever been. So I am encouraged by that. But there is just still like some mistakes being made in the design process that's like so jaw-dropping that you're just like,
Tell me about them.
well, so for one example is the General Motors. Up until the new Equinox came out, they never put middle head restraints in their cars. And like a middle head restraint, like so the Chevy Tahoe to this day doesn't have a middle head restraint. And you're like, and you want me to put my 12-year-old there without a head restraint? Why wouldn't you have a head restraint? I mean, that's like, I mean, to sit in a seat without a head restraint, if you get in a collision, you're getting whiplash.
Right.
Every other manufacturer has head restraints. So like, what's that about? And I like, now I kind of have a complicated relationship with some of these manufacturers because unlike other car reviewers, I don't need you to send me a car for me to review it. I will get my
You're not going.
I will get my hands on it eventually. So you can't hide from me forever. But so I get invited to some of these events and I literally am sitting with like the engineer at Chevy and I'm like, what are you doing? Why wouldn't you put this in there? And they never seem to have a good answer for me. So I mean, every manufacturer, has like their own, and some get a little bit more in the weeds than others, but I think there's still just some oversights that feel like shocking. Where it's like, oh my gosh. Like, take some responsibility.
Who does it best?
Uh, I mean, some things I just don't know if it's just like a happy accident. Like, I don't know if they did it like thinking about that or if they just did it the right way. Like, I mean, the most family friendly SUV is the Ford Expedition by far. They've got what's called a car seat tilt, so you can access the third row. They have middle head restraints. They have lower anchors in the third row. They've got tether anchors in all 6 seats. They've like it's the most family friendly bench. I don't know if it's because that's just how they've been designed or what's the case, but you know, I shouldn't say like they're not trying because I've definitely felt and like even the new Traverse. This is exciting. Not to harp on Chevy because the new Traverse got redesigned for 24 and they added a middle head restraint. And they were very excited to show me that they added a middle head restraint. So I can't help but think like, okay, like this community, like we are making a difference. Like that's really encouraging to see. But then I'm also just, I don't know if any of the manufacturers are really, I mean, car affordability is like the biggest thing right now.
It is. There's an affordability crisis to some
They
extent.
just seem to keep making the cars more expensive.
Right.
So that doesn't
That's the biggest detriment.
Yeah, so that doesn't feel like it's made with families in mind. And then, you look at like the EV movement. And, some of the least fuel efficient cars are the cars my audience is driving. And like they can bring me a F-150 Lightning or a GMC Hummer that gets 1,000 horsepower and my Expedition can't be a hybrid. Okay, so do you care? So do you care about saving the world? Or like, why would you make a GMC Hummer hybrid or electric vehicle? What if you made like a Traverse or like a GMC Acadia hybrid first before you did that? So I have felt like families up until, I mean, now we have the Rivian and the Kia EV9, but I have felt like families have been so left out of the EV conversation. And again, as the people driving the least fuel efficient vehicles, that's been frustrating.
You go across the board, right? I mean, you'll do Teslas, Rivians, all the above, whatever you get your hands on.
Whatever I get my hands on, yeah.
Yeah. Is the Rivian very family friendly?
I'm getting one next week.
Okay, we'll have to come back for that one.
I mean, I play with it a little bit. I think it's fun. I think with the Rivian, like they do a very good job of, and again, this is kind of like, look, it has a removable Bluetooth speaker. You're like, okay. Whoa. What else does it do? Like, how are the crash ratings? I mean, now there's a lot of, I feel like whoever is someone needs to be doing PR for EVs because they just keep making headlines and not in good ways. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, especially lately.
Yeah, I mean, the Rivians just came out with there's a viral video going around that they're too heavy for the guardrails to stop them. So they're just going through guardrails like a freaking like it's tissue paper. And you're just like, okay. And then there was all those snowstorms and then there was like those Tesla graveyards. So and people like to say I'm an EV hater, which I'm not. I also live in rural Missouri, and up until a year ago, they used to have to bed EVs to get them to my house for me to review them. So like, I'm sitting in the middle of the country just kind of watching it all happen right now. We are not ready out here, not where I live at least, but we'll see. I'd like to see more hybrids. I think that's the better approach personally.
Well, it's certainly the pendulum has swung back to that movement. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It cannot be all rainbows and unicorns when it comes to comments that you receive. And social media can be a haven or maybe even a cesspool for commentary, as you know. What do you do to ignore the haters?
Well, I try to be I obviously have a big following and I don't get to respond to every message or even see every message. But when I see a bad message, instead of giving that energy, I think of look at all the people who like my content, who enjoy following me, who are asking me questions like, what a slap in the face if I respond to a hate comment. So whenever I see a hate comment, I respond to like 10 nice comments instead. It's like, why would I give that my energy? Yeah. And it ebbs and flows. Like there's days, I mean, especially the more you show of your family. I mean, obviously those comments hit a little bit different of a chord when, like I remember I went on a trip and I missed my third child's first birthday. And I got dragged for being such a horrible mom to miss his first birthday, of which we threw him a huge party when I got back. And like, he was with his dad. I'm like, no one would ever say a dad was a bad father for missing his first birthday. And like, I didn't want to miss it, but this was an opportunity that I had to take. So yeah, some things set me off a little bit, but for the most part, I have a very good community. And yeah, I would say like if you like an influencer, send them a nice message because they're not always getting them. And it's encouraging to see people like your content.
Yeah, that's a wonderful
Yeah.
thing to say.
Yeah. I haven't figured that out yet.
Probably something you didn't anticipate having to deal with, I'm sure, and it might keep you off other platforms now,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. I mean, like the YouTube comments, like the comments of men, like, I mean, my YouTube is just, those comments are the Wild West, but
Oh
they
yeah,
don't
oh
really
yeah.
bother me because they're not my people. But, it's what's also crazy is like truthfully, no one is meaner to women than other women. And like, that's just been a little bit sobering because some of the comments I've received, I'm like horrible comments. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're his mom. What's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, but for the most part, I have to give my community credit. They are so encouraging, so uplifting. And yeah.
Someone complained about the microphone that I was using in an interview. So I mean, you've got to just be, yeah.
Can't make them.
You've taken on the responsibility of identifying your personal cars of the year in
Yeah.
various
That was
categories.
controversial.
Yeah, tell me.
So we did four finals. So we did a family car of the year. And like I said, I never liked to do like lists or anything like that because I didn't feel like I felt like I didn't want to go there. But especially when I saw some change happen, like with Chevy, I was like, okay, if I reward the manufacturer, I have the platform now where it's like, if I reward a manufacturer, maybe I can change how some of these cars get built and how they get designed. So we decided to do it. And I chose four finalists for the car of the year. And the rule was the car had to be redesigned and be available for purchase in that model year. So
Hmm.
we chose the Lexus TX, the Grand Highlander, the Honda Pilot, and the redesigned Volkswagen Atlas as our four finalists. And those were all cars that I had spent a lot of time in. I know the ins and outs of all four of those cars. And we graded all of them on like our set on our scoring guide that included things like convenience, comfort, safety, car seat setup, technology, and the Volkswagen Atlas won, which people didn't like. Which I don't think they would have liked anything. And I think everyone read it as a personal attack that I don't like the Grand Highlander, which was not true. The Grand Highlander was one of my finalists, but at the end of the day, the Volkswagen Atlas won. And yeah, it was the biggest deal in the world, and now it seems everyone's forgotten about it. So I stand by it. I think the Atlas made some really big improvements for 24. They were able to clench the IHS top safety pick for making better headlights standard. The Grand
Hmm.
Highlander TX did not get that award. The new Volkswagen Atlas is an incredible value. It's one of the only cars I've seen lately where they redesigned the trim levels to give you more on the base model. The car seat setup is spectacular. So that's why I won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can viewers trust the veracity of your choices?
They can know that they are data based and data backed. Like I can tell you like that the Volkswagen Atlas can fit more car seats. But I think at the end of the day, like it's difficult to do because if you only need to fit one car seat, maybe the Volkswagen Atlas isn't your choice. But I have to look at like how versatile a car is for all families to give it the family car of the year. But I do think I would tell people like, you know, especially, I mean, really my specialty is of course family cars, but it's really family cars for 3+ kids. And that's only because that's where things get complicated. Every car can fit two car seats. Not every car can fit three. Not every car can fit four. So that's where I've really felt like I've had to go a little deeper. And it's like, if you have one child in a car seat, go have some fun. Go buy whatever you want. Like, I don't know, what color do you like? If you have four kids in car seats, your options go from endless to about three. So that's just kind of where people do need to understand that about my content.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. When your children grow, and they will grow quickly, do you do you continue with this noble calling, or does it become like car mom, sports car, midlife crisis?
Oh, yeah. No, that's where, so when I say I'm just getting started, I mean, I'm just getting started. Like I am there, I have such a vision for where I want to take this, but I'm also very mindful of the phase of my life that I'm in right now. I'm actually pregnant with my fourth.
Oh,
So like,
congratulations.
no, so
Breaking
it's like,
news on
thank
Cars and
you.
Culture.
Yeah, I don't even think I haven't even said it on my Instagram yet. So this is exclusive. Um, so I am very aware that this is this phase in my life. So what I'm going to keep doing is having my babies, working this flexible schedule, raising my kids. But then when they're grown, like we're turning this up a notch. And I have a lot of big plans for how I can continue to help families with all this experience of 4 kids under my belt. Then I'm really going to know what makes a good family car. So
Wow. Won't you? Yeah.
yeah, and I got a lot of sisters who aren't even married yet. So I'll bring them in. We can start showing that, we're going to keep it going.
Wow. Good for you. An entire vision. Wow.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of the of what happens to the car mom, later
Yeah,
in life.
maybe.
The
Yeah.
convertible. On your site, you also test and promote other things. I mean, we talked about broccoli from Costco, but I see you were also you have an agreement with Capital One as well. So this is really broadening out, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for the new Cap One partnership. We're focusing on their new auto navigator platform. So it's still auto adjacent, but that's something that like within my family's dealerships use every single day. So it's a fun like I love when I can bridge the gap between like retail and consumer. Like that's what I love to do. Like I love bridging the gap between like, hey, your sales manager isn't the worst person in the world. And this Cap One partnership feels good because I get to do that in a bigger scale.
Yeah. Could you have imagined some of these partnerships? I mean, and by the way, I also noticed you've branched out into makeup too.
Yeah, don't have any on today, but um, it's just I that's just what makes it fun. Like the car content, while I love it, especially on the long form front. Like we host a lot of our long form detailed vehicle reviews on YouTube. But for Instagram, it just feels like I love showing the daily life of being a working mom, being an entrepreneur, um, being just like, a girl from rural Missouri. Like it's just fun content to make. So it's been fun to do some of the lifestyle stuff. And I'm also so humbled by some of the auto related partnerships we get. Like Continental's a huge supporter of mine. And I mean, they like, sponsor race car drivers, like, and the car mom. Like that just feels really cool that we're like on the same kind of level, not the same level, working with the same sponsors.
Yeah. Do you feel that you're tethered? I mean, gosh, you can't probably get away from your device longer than a couple hours without producing something, right?
Um, I very much treat it like a 9 to 5. And do I think am I on my phone probably more than I'd like to be? Sure. But
Yeah, that's not a good mom thing.
no, it's not a good mom thing, but I do think I have a pretty good handle on this. And, it's just kind of a decision we've made as a family. I get a lot of, not a lot, but, there's always some backlash about like, showing your kids on the internet or like, I can't believe you'd show your children. I can't believe you would do that to your kids. And I just think that for a lot of other influencers, like maybe it's not right for them or they feel a certain way about it. But I just think I am in this for the reasons of helping people and helping women and helping families. And if my kids ever came to me in 10 years or 20 years and say, Mom, why did you show us? Like, I don't want to be on here. I'd say, well, that's a decision we made as a family to help thousands of women. And I just feel like if I keep myself grounded in like why I'm doing this, it's and I'm grateful that my kids participate in it and want to be, but like that's just kind of what our family is doing. Just like my family owned car dealerships and I spent my Saturdays on the dealer lot, my family's going to spend it, creating content to help keep families safe. And that's just kind of, I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you hear from men too who say, "Hey, thanks for the buying tip"?
Oh my gosh, so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Probably the untold story here, isn't it?
it's fun though, because it's fun to see, I get a lot of messages of husbands being like, thank you so much. Like, my wife, couldn't stand to watch these car reviews or like she had no idea what she wanted and like your tours like helped make the decision so easy. And then same thing, like a lot of, I mean, dads also need to know if the car seats can fit. So we've started doing that. My husband's actually started reviewing, my husband's a big truck guy. And so he's started reviewing trucks
I
from a
saw that.
perspective. So like now we do a lot of truck reviews with multiple car seats and yeah, we'll
Truck
take
dad.
anything. The
Truck
truck.
dad. Yeah. I saw that. Yeah. Have you thought about the quality of driver training in this country?
Well, that's an interesting question. Like teaching our teens to be better drivers.
We could start there. Yeah, sure. Before we hand them the keys at 15 and a half or 14 and a half in some states.
Yeah, I think that one one thing I am encouraged by, and I think it gets a bad rap sometime, but crash avoidance and crash prevention technology is incredible on these newer cars. And there's, I always get like the feedback like, well, I don't want my teen to learn to rely on it. And I'm like, okay, frontal collision warning happens if they're going to collide. So like it's not no one is going to be relying on this technology. This technology is there if it's needed. So I'm so encouraged to see manufacturers not gatekeep this behind a price wall anymore because when I was selling cars in like 2017, if you wanted the best safety features, it was top trim. Well, now no one does that. Now all the crash avoidance technology is on the lower trim level. And that's going to soon, bleed more into the used car market than it already is. So I'm encouraged on that front that we'll be able to have safer cars. I believe the cars are safer today than they were 5 years ago. I believe they'll be safer in another 5 years. So I feel really good about the cars. But as far as driver education and I think devices are still like a very scary thing that's in cars. So, and I don't feel like we have a very good handle on that or what that means. And one thing that I try to be so mindful of is even though my oldest is only 4, like setting by example of like I will never have my phone, in me while I'm driving because I just never want him to see that.
Yeah. Will you send your kids to professional drivers course
Oh
at some
yeah.
point? Yeah.
Yeah, my parents did some driving classes for us where it was like a retired police officer. I'm sure there's one in your area. And I liked it because one, I learned how to drive, but they also taught us a lot of emergency situations, like how to stop the car if your brakes go out. And that just felt like that's something that still stuck with me. And then I think it's also important to test your teens to the limits of like, when I was learning to drive, we found an abandoned road and we got to 40 and then I slammed on the brakes as quickly as possible because you need to know what that feels like. And you need to know what the vehicle is actually capable of.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. How much do you realize now you didn't know about the car business?
Oh,
A
so
car
yeah, I mean, it's still so complicated and it's also so ever changing. And it's crazy to see like, content that I spent, weeks on, hours on is now irrelevant because that's not how we're buying cars anymore. You know what I mean? So it's ever changing. Um, and that's difficult. And it's difficult to navigate. It's also difficult to make content in a mass scale like that when every state has different laws, every manufacturer has different leases, every month those leases look different. And I'm supposed to, make content on like, is leasing right for you? It's like, I don't know. Maybe I need to like, kind of see all the information. So that's where I just really try to focus on the education piece so much. And that's why I also just like can't quit the personalized consults because it doesn't take me long to get the information, but like I just need to know some basic info to give you the right answer.
Wow. How does one apply for that
They're on my website.
block of time with you? Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
they're on my website. It's 15 minutes, but I'm a pretty fast talker if you can't. So I get a lot in 15 minutes and you fill out a questionnaire ahead of time. And it's very much like, I mean, it wouldn't be helpful for me to give you like, sorry, it wouldn't be helpful for me to give you like 5 options. So like I give you 2, maybe 1.
Right.
I just try to make it very concise.
Yeah.
So yeah, my website, The Car Mom, you can book a consult there. I book out about like 3 months in advance, but
Wow.
I try to add more times when I can because I just do love them.
Yeah. A couple more things, and then we'll let you go back to your car.
Yeah.
Can you drive down the road now without thinking of what's coming in front of you? I mean, is every moving object on the road something that you're analyzing in your head 100 times?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
now I like to play the game of like, can I recognize a car from like just the tail light? Can I recognize a car from just the top up? Can I recognize a car from just the cup holders? So I like really like to kind of play that game with myself.
Okay.
I do pretty good.
And let's get into the inevitable. You're in a supermarket, someone recognizes you from your IG account. They ask you, "What car should I get?" And your answer is,
Well, like I
depending.
said, I like to give answers because I don't like to be, I'm not your like, I used to be that when everyone, like, I used to be very, way more PC about it. And now I'm like, no, like, this is stupid. I didn't do all this work to not give this woman a straight up answer. So I do like to, I have to ask how many kids you have. And then a big question I have to ask, even though I just met them, is, are you going to have more kids? And sometimes, like, especially on the consultations, the husband's there. And I'll be like, so are you guys done at 3? And then husband's like, yes. And wife's like, no. So those are fun to navigate. But I have to know how many kids you have and how many kids you want to have, because my answer between 2 kids, 3 kids, and 4 kids are all incredibly different cars. And what's hard about buying a car as a family is, there's a 6-year loan on the average car. Well, I had 4 kids in 5 years. So, which is insane, I understand. But like the car that I would have bought in 2019 probably with my first versus my Expedition Max I drive now, like it would have been so drama to buy it back then. So you have to ask them that. And then, if it's 2 kids and they want a 3-row, do you want a 3-row or do you want a 5-passenger? That's a tough question. But I mean, I'm going to tell you like a specific car that I would probably do just based on that.
Sure.
If I had 2 kids in car seats, I would buy a Hyundai Palisade. I love that car. If I had 3 kids, I would either probably buy the Volkswagen Atlas or a Ford Expedition if I wanted something big. And if I had 4 kids, I would buy a Ford Expedition.
Well, you're good for the Ford Expedition now.
The Ford Expedition's a good one.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of good. I mean, the midsize category is competitive. It's competitive right now.
Well, now we know not done at 3.
Yeah. and that complicates things because I've really made my identity the past year all about which cars can fit 3 across. Like every time I get a press car, I try to do 3 across. Well, that's going out the window because who cares if I can do 3 across? I have 4 kids.
You have to leave somebody at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Kelly, thanks for telling us all about your mission here, your vision certainly, and your experience. Congratulations on the 4th on the way, and thank you for being part of our culture and cars and culture.
Thank you. What a fun combo.
Thank you.